In this episode, we're going to implement armies and having armies interact on the map and fighting each other. So we'll need to make a little map where armies can interact, and then we'll need a system for spawning the armies. I'm going to start by creating a new army script. So we're going to create this as a army prefab. We'll put the new army script in there. And the first thing the army needs is a reference to which player it is. So we'll add a player. Then we need a list of the marbles that are in the army. So I'll make a list of marbles. Then we'll need a list of starting marbles that will be created for the army at the start of the game. And that will be a list of game objects for prefabs. Call that starting army. Then what we'll do is right at the start, we're going to create the starting army. So we'll do for each game object in starting army, then we'll create it. Go back here, instantiate, and that will be the, let me rename this to prefab for clarity. We're going to create that, and for now we can just parent it to the army itself, like that. And if we go back into the marble script, we never specified a setup function for it. The setup function would be responsible for things like changing the color. So first we'll go back to our marble function and implement that function. So we'll make public marble setup, and we need to feed it a player. So then when we call this, we're going to set the player. We're going to change the color of the sprite renderer. Color is equal to player.color. And then at the end, we're going to return this. Because this function, it's going to return the marble, which is this object. And then we can operate on it from where we've set it up if we need to. So we're going to do that here. Get component marble. We're going to set it up. And that will be the player attached to the army. Then we need to add it to this list of marbles. So we'll add it. And then we don't want the marbles to start fighting immediately, so we're going to hide it. And to do that, we're just going to set active to false on the new marble object, which is this one we created over here. And let's call this army. Save it as a prefab. Make a copy. Where did we put our players previously? We didn't put them anywhere. So we'll just add that over here. Player red. Add a player object to it, player script, and a color. Do the same for blue. And then this is the red army. So we're going to drag the red player into its player. For the blue army, we're going to drag the blue player. And then in the army, we want to specify the starting army. So we'll drag this marble prefab into it. Maybe change this to 10. So each army can start with 10 marbles. Now, if we test this, we should see each army creating a bunch of blank marbles. There we go. They're all disabled. And if we enable them, we can see there they are. Now we need to have our battle and map modes. So this area up here is going to be our battle, and this area down here is going to be our map. And we need to move the camera between them. So let's save what those two locations are. I'm just going to create an object for that. Battle camera location. And this was right over here. And then we're going to do the same with the map camera location. Going to set the Z to -10, which is the normally how far back the camera is. So by default, the camera is going to be on the map. We're going to need our armies to move by themselves and bounce around. So I'm just going to take this random velocity from the marble script and put it in here. The army will also need a rigid body. I think I forgot to add it into the object, so we'll go back to the prefab, add in a rigid body. Once again, disable gravity. We don't want them to fall to the bottom. They should probably bounce. And we're going to set that on the script. And finally, we just need a collider. Now we need a way to detect when these two marbles touch each other. So we'll do that here in the army script, which will be a on collision enter. We're going to check if the object it's colliding with is also an army. I'll do get component, and then if it's null, we're just going to break out of the function, remove these extra brackets that we didn't ask for. We're going to need a function that spawns the army. That will need to know where to spawn the army. So we're going to need a reference to this battle arena. Let's just put this here in a container to make it a bit easier to manage. And we'll need a spawn point. Spawn point 1 and spawn point 2. For now, to keep track of this, I'm going to create a game script. There's only going to be one of that, and then the armies will interact with that script when they want certain locations and things. I'm going to create that. We'll create an object for it. So this is going to need some references. It's going to need the battle camera location, the map camera location, the spawn point 1 for the battle spawn point 1, and battle spawn point 2. And in order to reference this game, to reference the script from any other script, I'm going to declare a static instance of it. This just means that normally a class or an object, there might be multiple copies of it. But in this case, if there's the static game, if I reference game.instance from any other script, it will always refer to this one. I'm only going to have one of this. So right at the start of the game, it needs to set that instance is equal to this. So what we can rather do is we'll tell the game to start the battle. So we're going to have a function for that, start battle, and that is going to take two armies, army 1 and army 2. Then we can call that from here. Game.instance.startBattle, and that's going to be this and the other army. One thing that we need to protect against over here is consider what happens if two armies collide. This function will run for both of them, so both of those armies are going to start the battle. One way we can prevent that is to have a little check in here for the army to say if it's in a battle or not. Is in battle. And then what we'll do is, if this is already in a battle, then we're just going to break out of the function. So if it isn't, we're going to start the battle. So we're going to set the is in battle to true for both this one and the other army. Is in battle is equal to true. So when the two collide, the one is going to trigger, it's going to start the battle, set both of them to true, then the second one is going to similarly trigger this, and it's going to break out over here because it's already in a battle. Then we need the army spawning function, and we're going to need to feed it a location. What we should also do, a problem that I have with my marble kingdoms is often marbles will spawn on top of each other and get locked. So we should maybe rather define bounds within which they're able to spawn. So I'm going to visualize that by creating a copy of this. It's going to take out the collider, make this a bit smaller. So this is going to be my spawn box. Spawn box 1. And a copy for spawn box 2. I don't want them to actually appear in the game, so I'm just going to disable the sprite renderer. So we'll rather feed this the transform itself, then we can use the position and the size. And what the spawn army is going to do is it's going to iterate through the whole list of marbles in the army, enable each of them and move them into a random point in the spawn box. So we'll do for each marble in marbles. So marble.gameObject.setActive will be true, and we'll set the position is equal to spawnbox.position plus a random factor based on the size. Be a new vector3. It's going to be spawnbox.localscale.x times random.value. We'll have to subtract a half from that just to let it go left to right and above or below. Then we're going to do the same thing for the y coordinate, and then the z coordinate will just be 0. Now we actually need to call this, and that's going to be from the game. So we've already specified the top and bottom, and that will then map to correspondingly army 1 and 2. Spawn army, and this will be in battle spawn point 1 and spawn point 2. A side effect of this is that because Unity iterates through objects in the same order every time, as far as I'm aware, the same army, if two armies fight multiple times, the same army will always be in the top and the bottom. But we can look at fixing that at a later stage. And then what we also need to do is to move the camera. So we'll do camera.main. This is just a shortcut to reference the main camera, camera.main. And we'll just set its position to battle camera position. Okay. I think we've got enough to test to see if it actually works. Maybe I'll just put them in each other's path. Okay, what just happened? Okay, I haven't specified the variables as always. Battle camera location, map camera location, spawn box 1 and spawn box 2. Okay, let's try again. And there we go. We've spawned an army. And it's over. But for some reason, they're still bouncing around. So we need to know when the battle is over. To accomplish that, we're going to start by checking in the army when it loses a marble. Then we can check if an army is empty and there's no more marbles in it. I'm going to start that from the marble script. So a marble needs to know which army it's in. And we'll have to modify the setup to also specify the army. Army is equal to A. Then we're going to need a death function over here to handle all of this logic when the marble dies. And the next thing it's going to do is to remove this marble from the list of marbles. So army.marbles.remove this marble. We need to fix the setup function because we added the army requirement. So now, as marbles die, they'll be removed from the army. And then in the army, we can check if it is empty or not. What we should maybe rather do is handle the marble removal from here. Marble has died. Feed it a marble. So we'll remove the marble from here. And then we can check over here if the army is empty so that we can destroy the army. If marbles.count is equal to 0, then we're going to destroy this game object. So now we need to change this. This is rather going to inform the army that it's been removed. Marble has died. This. Okay, so now in the game, we need to keep track of if we're in a battle or not. Let's just use an enum for that. Game state, and that will be map and battle. And the state by default will be map. So if we start a battle, we're going to change the state. Game state.battle. And then while we're in battle, we need to first of all keep track of where the two fighting armies are. So we'll keep track of that over here. Army battle participant 1 and participant 2. So we'll set that over here. And autofill is behaving very nicely today. So now what we'll do is, if either of them are, well, can't check if they're empty because the armies are going to destroy themselves. We can maybe check if it's null. If battle participant 1 or battle participant 2 is null, then we'll do end battle. So state will be map, and camera we can move back. Map camera position. Then on the winning army, we also need to hide the marbles again. I'll add a function for that. Despawn army, and that is just going to disable each of them like such. So we need to see which army has lost. A losing army, or the losing army is the one that will be missing, the winning army will be the other one. So winning army, and then we'll do a little test over here. If that is null, then it's participant 2 or participant 1. If you're not familiar with this type of operation, this is an inline way of doing like a if then else. So this will evaluate as if it's an if then else. It's going to check this. If this evaluates to true, it will do this part after the question mark. Otherwise, it will do the part following the colon. And then on winning army, we're just going to despawn army. I'm not entirely sure if this is going to work, so for now, to test it, I'm just going to make the armies much smaller so that the battles can finish a bit quicker. Yeah, okay, let's test. And let's force them to fight. Oh, there's another problem. The armies are still moving when the fight is in progress. So we need to just fix that. Do that over here. And we're just going to disable or is enabled, is sleeping, is kinematic. I think is kinematic, yeah. That should set it to no longer be in the simulation. And then at the end, the winning army, we're going to just revert that. And that will be false. What's this error I'm still getting? Oh, okay. We need to first of all check. Okay, what's happening over here is that this update is checking every frame if either of these are null, and obviously they're null because there hasn't been a battle yet. So we first need to check if there is actually a battle. What's happening here? If state is equal to battle, and then both of these need to be evaluated together. So it's in a battle and either of those are null. Force them to fight. Oh, they're still moving. Why are they still moving? And that clearly isn't doing it. Oh, I should just sleep it. Okay, let's try that. And then we just need to wake it up again. Wake up. Okay. And they've stuck. Okay, that's good. We'll just let this battle play out quickly. While that's going, we can see here on the game that it shows that these are the two battle participants. I'm just going to cheat a bit here and set these guys to have 1 health so that they can just end the battle. You go over there. You go over there. So that's that. And now we are back to the map. But why have you not resumed moving? Okay, everything else seems to have worked. The other army was destroyed. Maybe we'll just nudge it manually. Yeah, this is not quite ideal, but we'll just give it a random velocity. Just normalize those walls so that they go at a consistent speed. So now let's just have 4 armies play it out. So we'll add our green player and our yellow player. We'll just make the armies a bit more full again. Let's reduce the marbles hit points so that the battle's a bit quicker. So suppose this is really just a contest of who gets lucky enough to avoid the battles. But maybe it ends up being interesting. And if this works, that's probably it for this episode. And the next episode, maybe we should do experience and maybe names. Let's see if blue can avenge his allies. That was close. Okay, blue's disappeared, everything's moving. That's what I want to see. And now you'll see green's marbles are still damaged. He has lost his marbles. So he is not very likely to win. That's once again where the experience will come in a bit more handy. And that was that. There we see the weapon locking being quite a big issue. Maybe we'll try and tackle that as well. But for now, looks like it's going to be an easy yellow victory. The pacifist victory. Don't forget to comment on what you'd like to see. Well, thanks for watching.